next, because I just took a note of it, but I didn't go into it. Writing on our hands. Okay, so I've read a lot that you need to learn to check in. You need to learn to check in with parts of you. We definitely need to check in with each other, with parts of ourselves, with parts of each other, and parts of like the system as a whole. But we do not have anything like good internal communication yet. We are building reasonably decent communication with one another between at least 3 people, maybe 4. And people can like pass information in and out of the system in general, but it's a lot. Really fucking difficult. And like I didn't know how that looked, what it looks like. So I've found that it's like, okay, I've also read something that's like awareness precedes control. And I have found that to be the case. So awareness of what's happening within us definitely does lead to me being able to respond differently to the situation as it comes up. It starts with like, maybe at the end of a vlog, watching it back, I was like, I'm aware that I'm quite anxious during this vlog. And then next time, maybe I'll remember that at the end of the vlog and think, oh, I wonder if I was anxious. Next time, maybe I'll think halfway through the vlog, hey, am I feeling anxious right now? And maybe I'll remember to breathe and do something about it because it's more in the moment. And like, awareness seems to backtrack. I become aware at earlier and earlier stages of what I'm doing as long as I have it in me to be aware. And there's things I can do to help me to remember what to become aware of when, and what things I seem to need to become aware of in which situations. I have found these things out by watching our vlogs back and seeing what recurs as a theme for me, and learning about us basically, and about what we need, and about the kind of support that we need to give each other to make it easier. And then I can do stuff like I can write a post-it note and stick it up. Like there's various post-it notes and postcards in the living room within my eyesight, which have things like, it doesn't matter if anyone else believes us, we've got our back, and little things that kind of go into the subconscious over time that you just repeat, and it's like through the drilled repetition it starts to form a basis and a belief. And I've learned certain things that I can help combat the insecurities that have been heightened recently with, through watching it back and like fine-tuning the process and going what helps with which. And this is what I've come to after analysing and working it out for like, dunno, a week, 2 weeks, a while. Right. Writing the things that I need to catch and check in with and become aware of in the moments they're happening on our hands, because I tend to glance down at my hands and I will catch little like notes that I'm not even gonna, how do I even, what the fuck? Right, this one is these, okay. And this says, mindful. So then I will become aware and go, am I running on autopilot right now? Am I feeling like I can consciously choose to make decisions without something kind of seeming to force me down one track without much freedom of expression? Am I really here making these decisions? And I'll start thinking like that and become more aware. Embodied. Am I just like a floating head? Do I feel like I'm this amorphous blob behind my eyes here, or am I aware that I have a jacket on, say, that I can feel on my shoulders, and gloves and rings, and like, can I feel the fact that I have a body? I couldn't, for the record, just then. I'm actually starting to feel it more now. And like, I already feel like a lot calmer and more able to continue this vlog. Like, I think I was a lot more anxious before doing just these 2 things. So like, can I feel my limbs? Am I embodied right now? then if I go through, like, I'll sort of check, like I'll almost run a scan to see, like, okay, I can feel the material across my jacket. Can I really feel that? I can feel the dress around my ribs. Can I, like, what does that feel like? And I'll, like, run through a sort of check and scan of my whole body until I can almost picture and feel, like, the framework of it. And then it's like there's this connection or this sort of, like, drop down into it where I can feel, yeah, I can feel, like, my legs have gone really fucking numb, which I hadn't realised, and so I can, like, I am more aware of my body, I can feel it. My throat's kind of dry. So this is cool because it helps me to be aware of where we're at and where I'm at, and, like, what we need, and also because it helps me to build confidence in myself, as all these things are for, in the way of, like, if I have substance and I can see and feel that I exist as a person and kind of, like, the sort of person I am, if I can perceive myself and have a sense of identity and an embodied sense of identity, then I have something of substance that I know is there to kind of lean against, and it just increases my confidence in myself by so much, which makes it less likely that some insecurities will pop into my head, because I know that kind of what I'm like as a person, and I trust my autopilot responses as a person. I trust my, like, what I'm made from, what I'm made out of, what I make myself into, you know, like, everything that is me. And then if I'm, like, the same with being mindful, I can relax a bit, so then I will get less insecurities and less anxiety coming up, generally, and I will be more aware of the fact, like, with mindfulness, I think it's that I start to become aware of the fact that these things are happening and that I'm separate to them, rather than just being in the anxiety and the insecurities and, like, the same as my thought processes. It gives me that bit of distance between the insecurities and the anxiety and me, and reminds me that I'm here. Then embodied reminds me that I have a body, that I have substance, that I'm a person. That I start to think about, like, what I'm like. I kind of get a firmer idea of an identity and a self-image, and then it's cool because it's like, oh, I actually start to feel a tiny bit, like, relaxed, or like, oh, I look cute, this is me, and I can enjoy what I'm doing. I'm not just like this distorted amorphous blob behind my eyes. I have a body, I have a face, it expresses things when I talk. I start thinking of things like my morals and my viewpoints and my values and ideals. As a side note, I want to journal to find out more about those, but the ones I know of, I start feeling, and I'm like, okay, I'm forming a picture and a very tangible, internal, embodied sense of that picture of who I am, and with that comes just slightly less concern about, say, what I'm saying or whether it makes sense, because it's like, well, I exist, and really, I'm doing this for me, for us. There's a person there to be doing it for. It's like, if without all of these things, I feel so fucking weightless and substanceless that it's almost hard to have, like, who am I having confidence in if I can't fucking see them or feel that I exist as them, you know? The next note is emotions. This is where it gets challenging. Because I think different parts of me are able to run different parts of this process and have different connections to, like, the mind and the body and the emotions. And I spend a lot of time dissociated from my emotions for obvious and understandable reasons that we all know about as trauma survivors. Okay. So when I read emotions, I usually, like, almost feel like blinking and like I've just woken up from being not quite conscious, specifically in the part of me that would have formerly identified as Nightshade TM, which seems to be where I feel the most connected to our emotions. Hit of insecurity. Like, I could be judged or misunderstood for what I'm saying if it's complicated, and this is all complicated, and nobody but us really has to understand us for us to be safe. Makes sense, I think it. And the final note here is inside. It kind of comes with emotions, because I start thinking about how many parts of me can I feel connected between. Am I able to feel like a whole with many parts? Am I able to feel quite a fluid connection between all of those parts, and a mindful and unforced ability to naturally and authentically respond in a way that feels comfortable to all parts of me? Or am I feeling like restricted and constrained and limited and closed down and disconnected, which might mean that through some trigger or another, or a perceived danger in the environment, I am being pulled to respond as only a part of me, disconnected from the main whole, protectively, so that experiences don't transfer throughout all of us, I guess. Although that is, I see why protectively you wouldn't want the things to happen that are amazing when they happen when you're in a safe place. And then I start like actually feeling it, and of course we get to emotions. And there's some weight of grief, and there's some pain, and there's some anxiety, and there's some almost disbelief, and some pride, and some gratitude, and some excitement actually, and some like, I think I'm onto something that helps us here, yo. I think that this is actually quite good. Some fucking shock at how much work we're doing as I start to like be able to kind of see it. There's a lot when we get to that bit. And then inside also like helps me remember to check in on other people that are maybe close to the front, maybe deeper inside, and like that one is by far the most like, we need more learning process, more time, more practice building that. And I completely see why we need to deal with everything within our subsystem / ourselves first to have the capacity to then be able to engage and like connect between each other as well. And finally, the note on this hand is let go of attachment to outcomes, which I've talked about a bit, can present itself in very, very many different ways. Like, just being and existing and doing what feels right in every second I'm in, and trying to be very in that second. That's what it looks like, I find. What things can, like if I'm not doing that, what I can get is fears that, because we've got loads of fake claiming trauma by some dickheads that didn't know anything about DID, that we didn't know, and we were in a vulnerable place when we were with them. And I think we've got experiences from school and bullies at a much younger age, and some adults around us then, so we've got like tons of invalidation and fake claim and like testing trauma and shit. So I'll get random thoughts and insecurities that come from that, also probably that feed through the denial that is so common with this disorder anyway. So having an attachment to an outcome, if I'm not aware of it, can present like me just being really fucking stressed and anxious and not really understanding why, but feeling like I've I've got to have absolutely all the information about what we're going through and explain it perfectly so it's not misunderstood. And like, not mask and not cloak and be as natural and myself as I can. And like, but it comes from the wrong motivation. It's not doing those things because, oh hey, shit, I actually feel better and I can access like inspiration and curiosity and be playful and have fun if I achieve it. When it's like that, it comes more from like, we're going to get attacked or invalidated or dismissed if I don't do it. And I have to go through the reminders of first that, you know, everything I've been through here. But so like, letting go of attachment to outcome is basically being suddenly aware that I'm feeling this undercurrent of anxiety, which I can do because I can feel it in my body now, I can feel it in my emotions now, I'm aware of the thoughts going on in my head now from all the notes on this side of my hand, I'm aware of how other people are feeling. Maybe at this point we've started talking about it inside and that helps. And then letting go of attachment to outcome comes after that, really kind of flows into itself. So it's like I have awareness of these thoughts, of these fears being present, of where they're from, of the fact that the anxiety and the fear itself isn't like connected to, like, it's not real, it's an illusion. It's an illusion from a real time that it really was the case and it really was trauma and we really did have our safety based around it, and that's valid. And now we're in a completely different situation. The people around us support us. We have built and are building so much resilience that we will only learn to utilize complete strangers invalidating us as a way to build more resilience, as we've been doing. So like, it's all completely different, and where that does have a real basis in where it comes from, and it's not our fault that we're thinking it, it's like absolutely protective and right and clever of our brain that we are thinking it, and it no longer serves and is no longer applicable, so we can start to let that go. And just like these reminders, thinking about how like how we'd respond, how we're capable, how we feel, how we have our backs, and then outside that circle, like how we're supported by Ryan beautifully and how we're supported by Poe and Dragons and Windchime and like the people that we're speaking to are not like that. And then it's like, it's not like a one-time deal, all these things, which is why they're written on the backs of my hands, because I will redo this process every time I catch an insecurity, glance at my hands, go, oh yeah, and go through everything, and then through everything. And then get to this state where I feel more centered in myself. I feel more able to be aware of how I'm responding. I feel a greater connection between more parts of me. I can kind of behave more authentically and more naturally because I have that security and that comfort from doing all of this. I feel more attached to me. I feel my presence more in him and all of us. And I feel like that security and that comfort, and especially that safety, because like I can't feel validated and confident in myself if I don't feel safe. That seems like an after layer thought. So then, with all these things worked through, every time the insecurities come up, over time, we're building that confidence. And those responses are becoming more and more automatic. I'm becoming aware faster and faster. So the spaces of time where I'm feeling insecure and anxious are getting shorter and shorter as I become aware sooner and sooner between those breaks. And then eventually, I think it's just going to be like a whole, like they'll bleed into one another, the moments of awareness, and I'm going to have like more of those on default than times where I am not aware because something has triggered me or something has triggered a fear and an insecurity and pulled like a part holding trauma or all of me into that and blinkered my vision of all these other things. But then I'm still going to catch it and pull us back out quickly because it's written all over me. We need a tattoo again. I like being able to change it day by day, to like amend it for everything that we're going through, and like find what thing we need for every issue though. Like this was definitely me going, I'm getting fucked up by insecurities, and then you helping me realize why, and then once I could step out of it and realize that, yeah, it makes sense, of course I'm getting fears and insecurities, look at everything we've been through, that we're now getting into one person that is holding all of that. Look at what I'm fucking holding, of course. And then also that gets rid of judgment. Seeing it as protective gets rid of judgment. And once you had me on that, I was kind of out of it enough to deal with it. And now this is my dealing with it. And it is starting to help a bit. We're still very much in the early days, so it's at the point where it's really fucking hard. And it can almost feel overwhelming, because it's like, fuck, are you kidding me? I get triggered every second. I have to catch this every second. I've just finished going through all of them, and I got like 20 seconds of confidence and feeling secure, and something else has gone off, and I need to go through all of them again. And you kind of just got to be like, yeah, that fucking sucks. That bites, man. But that 20 seconds of really feeling like a real person, and being able to see and feel my presence for who I am and in my body, and feel secure and confident in my value as that person. Feeling you next to me. And being able to kind of just do what we're doing, because all of this stuff that's normally our focus wasn't for a few seconds our focus. That is so worth it. That's so fucking worth it. That, yeah, I just finished going through them, and I'm going to switch this off and go through them all again, over and over again, every time I get triggered. And once you get through the first chaotic stage and these things start to become more familiar and less uncertain, and you see the effects, it gets easier, and it's so worth it. I hope you're all having the best fucking time possible, or at least the least terrible time possible. Much love, and take care.